Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Kulturecast. I'm Chris Stachiw and I'm joined by my two friends. He puts the Mike White and Mike White March, returning once again, the projection booth's own Mr. Mike White.
I want a divorce.
Would that make you a divorcee?
A divorcer? I'm not sure.
Fair. And also joining us, she is the host of the Scary Stories We Tell podcast. Who else hosts that show? I do. We host it together. You should go check it out if you haven't already. Jess Byard.
Hello.
Some cross-promotion there.
I just want to party with these people and go driving, I think.
Oh my God. Party, yes. Drive, no. Jesus Christ. So on this episode of the Kulturecast, we are going to be talking about 1930s, The Divorcee, yet another pre-code film in Mike White March. So Mike, as always, before we talk about the film, I always give the floor over to you. Why did you pick The Divorcee?
Gotta say, I was pretty lazy this time because I didn't know a lot of these films. I just went through and culled a lot of different lists and said, show me the best pre-code films that there are. Took kind of a poll of those. Maybe I opened up a spreadsheet. Maybe I started adding columns together. Maybe I did all that. And The Divorcee definitely came up quite a few times. So, not knowing any better, I said, let's do The Divorcee and see how this goes. I heard there's going to be some wild orgies and sex parties. There's not. But I got to, kind of enjoy this film. And I got to see a very young Robert Montgomery, and I got to see the smoking hot Norma Shearer.
Yeah, so, Jess, had you ever seen this one before?
No, I haven't. I'm actually woefully underwatched when it comes to pre-code era movies.
You and me both.
When you had given me the list for this, I was like, well, I've not seen any of these, but this sounds fun and Norma Shearer, so I was in. And I mean, the Art Deco. Oh my God, the Art Deco.
Oh yeah, the sets in this are amazing.
Yeah, it's okay. I liked it. I don't know. I have. If you heard the Patreon exclusive episode, my issues with this movie, Mike, are going to probably echo the last movie. And I think you probably know what I'm talking about, given how the last film ended. I have kind of a really weird reaction to this film's ending. Outside of the ending, this movie is a lot of fun. It is the least pre-code of the pre-code films we've watched this month, Mike. I think you would agree there as well. It's pretty not pushing of any boundaries in this film. Not in the way the last two
disagree.
were.
I mean, I haven't watched the last two, but when I was watching this, I was like, wow, that's getting pretty. The fact that they had all say, like, make love in a movie in 1930, like, that's just...
The woman at the end of the last movie we talked about wanted to get raped by a man at the end of the film.
All right. Which one's that? That's insane.
Yeah. See what I mean by this one is kind of not very pre-code? Like, that was... And that was probably the biggest, like, thing in that film that pushed the boundary, right?
Yeah.
There's a few things in this movie that I think pushed a boundary. Just with, I mean, knowing what I know about the Hays Code and how much it changed. Even just, I mean, watching this, all of the kissing alone is very pre-Hays Code. I mean,
true.
For the length that they kiss, how often they kiss,
that is
the fact
true.
that they are talking about, having sex all the time. And, like he, at one point, Ted says, what does he say? He wants to make love to her until she can't scream for help or something like that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, but I would like to contrast that, Jess, with the last film where a woman said that she would like to be... What the hell was the line, Mike? It was like...
Put on a leash.
Yes, put on a leash and walk around like a dog. I mean, the character in the last film that we're talking about is 100% written as a nymphomaniac.
Right.
But...
I mean, it just sounds like any number of movies that I've seen from the 60s or 70s.
Sure. I will say, to your point, Jess, while I think this is less boundary pushing, I think it's pushing it in different ways that maybe are less bombastic as the last film.
And more subtle.
Yeah. Like the kissing, yeah. Or, the opening.
Well, there's a montage in this where it looks like she's going out, she being Jerry, which was weird that her name is Jerry, but that Jerry is going out with all these guys, but then she kind of is like cock blocking the last guy, and I'm wondering if she is doing that to all of them, because there's also some like, I like the montage because it's all hands and you just get to see her hands and the man's hand, and she seems to be pushing all of them off. So I'm wondering if it just seems like she's going out with all these guys, but never putting out. So I thought that she was really, because at the heart of the film, it's our main couple, Jerry and Ted, which again sounds strange, but Jerry and Ted are married, and Ted slips. He ends up having sex with this other woman. Is it Helen, maybe? There's so many.
Janice with a J. It's the J. I only remember the thing with the J.
Although Janice and Helen were pretty interchangeable for me. There are a lot of people in this. I did find a little bit of this movie to be like, I did mix up characters occasionally.
Yeah, because a lot of them look alike. They're all dressed very nicely and very dapper.
And have that makeup for, black and white movies, and their hair is all plastered to their head.
I mean, the only one who I could really recognize was Hank, because he's got the ukulele and he's got the mustache. And I was like, okay, cool. I want to hang out with Hank a little bit here. But so we've got Jerry and Ted, and they're doing their thing. And he ends up, he falls and his dick slips into Janice. And then there's this whole thing of like, oh, hey, you cheated on me. And then she ends up cheating on him, I guess. It seems.
I don't know. They never say what they're doing. They just say that it's like, oh yeah, I did a thing, the thing that we do in the bedroom at night. Like, what is that thing? The thing that we do when we don't have any clothes on. Like, guys, come on, for fuck's sake. Like, just say it, because I'm assuming she was intimate with someone else.
That's what it feels like.
Well, I mean, I just assume that that's always the cue, right? In older movies, of the lights go out or the curtains close, and that's your cue.
Right.
That, like, yep, that's what's happening.
Yeah. And so they end up getting a divorce. And then after that is when it seems like she's just going wild. But like I said, I don't think that she is.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wonderside comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wonderside's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wonderside.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wonderside.com. Wonderside. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wonderside today.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
It's going wild. I think that we're supposed to...
She's just going on a lot of...
Yeah. With a lot of European, but there's a lot of European stuff in here. Yeah. It was interesting how much like her fate and Ted's fate have to do with Europe. And I'd almost be curious to read the original novel that was based on, because there is so much like, oh, he went to Paris and she's in London and she went to Paris 3 times to try to find him.
Yeah, well, it's 1930, and that peace conference that European guy was supposed to be going to isn't going to go over real well.
No.
Paul, who's deciding to go live in Japan for a few years, also not a good idea.
Probably not.
No, okay, so we have to talk a little bit about the beginning of this movie.
The beginning of this movie is completely insane.
Yeah, so when I had no idea what this movie is about other than the little blurb on IMDb or whatever that is basically just a woman is upset with her philandering husband and gets back at him. And I was like, okay, that seems, makes sense. The divorcee, got it. But this movie doesn't start out with that. This movie starts out in I don't know where, this house full of rich people, like rich intellectual people. I don't even really know what any of these people do for work at all. If they were, I have no idea. But I get the impression that it's this sort of like collective of intellectual people, artist types that gather in the mountains and play games and are cheeky with each other. And I mean, it seems like a great time. And then they all get totally smashed. And well, then we get our fun car scene.
So the guy who's driving that car, is that, and I'm Paul. Okay, so Paul, who's the one who thinks that Jerry should marry him, but and so it seems like he's tipsy A, but also pissed off B.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, again.
With some
Dorothy.
Her sister? Dorothy.
Who ends up, we see her again later in the film, and I was surprised to see her coming in wearing a full face mask.
A face veil to protect her horribly disfigured face.
That was wild.
Already super drunk, and Paul is driving recklessly, and I mean it's fun, old movie crazy driving, but they smash into they go over the guardrail. And you get the idea that Dorothy's face is all screwed up. But then we don't see nor hear about her really ever.
No.
But we do, aside from the moment where Paul and her are getting married in the hospital after Ted and Jerry get married.
I was so confused that it took me probably until near the end of the film before I said, okay, who is in the hospital and who is getting married? Like, I could tell that there were two couples, and I was like, all right, was that Jerry in the hospital? No. So yeah, it took me a long time.
Confused me most is that in the car, I thought it was two blonde women, and the one blonde woman is saying, hey, you're gonna kill my sister. Okay, that is right, because Jerry's in a different car with Ted.
Right.
And they pull over after the car crashes. Okay, yeah. But then, yeah, you don't hear about it at all until the very end, and then it's horribly sad.
It's Dorothy Ex Machina is what it is.
Right, but it's so pathetic. Like, she comes there to basically tell Norma Shearer not to steal her husband away from her. And she literally says the line, I have no pride.
Yes.
Please don't leave me. Like, it's just, and that's, I guess, what stops Norma Shearer's character, Jerry, from
because that's going to be a healthy marriage to go back to.
Oh yeah, they're still getting divorced.
Yeah, I can see why you would have problems with the end of this. Because
because we haven't even gotten to the part I have a problem with.
Yeah, and because Ted, he's no catch.
No.
I think he thinks he's a catch.
Yes.
But he's not a catch.
No. I am so affirmative with you. Completely. It is insane to me where this film's ending lies. This woman in this film is meant to be a strong, independent woman, and she goes back to the guy who treated her like garbage. What?
Well,
something true love, something.
Meant to be, made one mistake, he'll change, that's something like that. I mean, they're getting divorced too eventually.
Yeah, oh yeah.
The depression, quite yet.
Yeah, I want to know what they were going for with the ending. Because it was
I think it's
failure.
I don't know. I just read it as a classic. It's just a stupid classic Hollywood ending of, like, these lovers that it's written in the stars that they have to be together, so they keep, ending up in the same places and things like that. So I just wrote it off as just classic Hollywood ending. Okay, whatever.
But they didn't write the rest of the film like that, and that's the problem. The rest of the film isn't written as they're trying to get back together. It would seem that they get back together in that final scene. That entire final scene of the movie gives the reason she's getting back with him and how she gets back with him and them getting back together all in one scene. Mm-hmm. That is
I had to wrap it up in a cool 82 minutes.
Yeah.
You say a cool 82 minutes. The last two movies we watched have been sub 70 minutes.
Right.
Which is insane because this movie does not make the most of the time that it's given. I don't think.
No. I was looking at my watch a few times, just like, okay, wow, this is taking a while.
Like, yeah, the other movies just have been almost under an hour. Like, that's how that's how big of a difference this movie is just in the runtime.
Well, so this movie, okay, let me ask you, who are the stars in the last two movies?
Not anyone of this not anyone of this caliber, because no one won. Norma Shearer won the Academy Award for Best Actress.
For this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what other movies are we talking about? What did we have to choose from? Because that doesn't, I mean.
She was nominated 5 times and won one,
Oscar
so.
Years have a lot of real crappy movies involved in them.
I mean, I don't know.
You could argue all of the Oscar years have a lot of crappy movies in them, but.
Yeah, I think it was like the second or third ceremony that we were at with this one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty early on. This is the third year that they're Oscars.
Absolutely no one in this movie is alive today.
No, and so Norma Shearer was she was actually up against herself for another film, and then she was also up against Greta Garbo. So yes, but Norma Shearer was up against herself for the film called Their Own Desire. So
can that happen anymore?
I don't know.
I imagine not.
That's a good question.
That's a weird.
Like,
that's
I mean,
weird, right?
It hasn't happened, but I don't know if that means it can't happen.
Right.
Or if it's just now an unwritten rule that we have so many movies now, it would be kind of ridiculous if you nominated somebody twice.
Yeah, but to be fair, haven't we had supporting actresses nominated for being in the film for like 11 minutes?
Yeah.
Couldn't an actress be?
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
Couldn't an actress be in a film for 11 minutes and then be in another film the same year as like a bigger player? But I guess they wouldn't pick both. They would just do one or the other.
Can get nominated for multiple categories, though.
That's true. But then you're not competing against yourself, though.
What if you're a supporting and a leading?
But you're still not competing against yourself.
Right, true, because it's not the same.
It's kind of weird that she was competing against herself for...
Yeah, but I mean, there weren't a lot of movie stars at that point in time. I mean, Norma Shearer, Greta Garbo.
Gloria Swanson was also in there, yeah. I'm not familiar with Ruth Chatterton or Nancy Carroll.
No. I mean, to be fair, I wasn't exactly familiar with Norma Shearer until this film either. But I will say, outside of the ending, I did like a lot of this film. But similarly to the last film, like, it completely fell apart in the last reel for me. Because the journey that we're going on with these characters in Blood Money, honestly, like, looking back on Blood Money now, Blood Money's ending, as kind of a mess as I thought it was, it stuck the landing better than this film did. Because this film almost went against what the film was building towards the entire time. And I don't get it. It's so bizarre.
I don't know. I see this as more of like a When Harry Met Sally kind of thing. They get together the one time, have the disastrous date. They go out with other people. They see how horrible that is, and they finally end up back together at the end, and you know that they're supposed to be together. I don't think that Jerry and Ted really should be together at the end of the film, but I could see why they would be because of Hollywood screenwriting logic, because they did seem happy in that early scene of them in the apartment before that treacherous Jezebel comes in, or Janisabel comes in. But yeah,
happy like before they get married. Right. I mean, when we first meet them, they're like up by the side of a river, which is a really hilarious scene, I think. Yes. When Ted's trying to propose and he's just saying, say yes, say yes, say yes. And this kid pops out behind the tree and says, for God's sake, lady, say yes so I can get out of here. And it was hilarious. I think that this movie is really funny. I think that it has some really funny moments, particularly from like Paul and more so the supporting characters than our leads. But I do think that it's just, I enjoy this era of the just kind of tongue-in-cheek humor that's very quick. And I also just kind of feel like it is just one of those early eras, kind of like maybe an early romantic comedy type, before that genre existed. It's an early example of that, where it is, for all intents and purposes, two people who should not be together keep proving that they shouldn't be together, and yet still get together. And we all know that is a fantasy world, and that in reality that it wouldn't work. So I think that this is very much that, where it's just like, see, you can make it work after all.
I would agree.
Let's think about it. It's 1930.
I would
look at it through 1930 eyes.
I would agree, but again, if this film is trying to maybe not do the usual, it would have been a little bit more kind of out there to have a guy leave his wife for the woman who left her husband because someone did the same thing to her. it's the logical progression of the story. I see why they did what they did, because to your point, Jess, it's 1930, but that's the logical progression of the story in a lot of ways. And cause like, why even bring the Paul character back if he's not going to go anywhere? It's so weird. He comes back for what feels like 10 minutes. And then the film wraps up.
He comes back as a tease for her, because at that point she's gone to look for Ted in Paris.
I just never felt like her heart was in it to find Ted, because like I just didn't understand why she would want him back. Like, what was the compelling argument?
Because we're looking at it from our point of view and not their point of view.
But they should be able to convince us. Yeah, they should be able to convince us that Ted is worth getting back with. You know, it's just it's weird. I don't know. Like I said, outside of the ending, it's similar to Blood Money.
People needed to be convinced a lot less than we do.
Maybe, yeah, that's probably fair.
I do.
No. You're probably right. I
think people were much more willing to be like, oh no, see, people can change. Like, he'll be nice, you know.
Right.
Whereas now in our 2021 vision, we're all very jaded, and we all do not trust people in that way anymore. And we don't have that kind of easy-going feeling towards like, oh, yeah, they seem like shitty people, but they love each other. It's fine.
Yeah.
We're like, no, he's awful. Leave him.
Right.
I think, as they would say, it was a simpler time back then in so many ways.
In that little window of time between two world wars.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think these characters, too, are very much, to your point, as far as the Depression. I mean, these are jet setters. These are the people living the life, and we're supposed to be looking up to them. So if they don't end up together, then what does that tell us, the little people who, you know, can't get our shit together?
No, I get it. I 100% get it. Like I said, there is part of me that is harder to divorce the 2021 from the 1930, but that's why I said, like, you know, outside of the ending, it's still a very good film, and Norma Shearer is really good in it. She is a very good actress, regardless of the era. So she's not as coy as the actress in The Jewel Robbery was. She's a little bit more headstrong in a lot of ways. But I like that because I don't want to see the, you know, female characters being placed inside a box here.
Right.
Oh, well, then you shouldn't watch any movie before 1980.
Wow.
But I like that. I really like Norma Shearer's character in this, and it is nice to hear a script written where the women sound like normal people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like casual, everyday people, you know, making comments about, you know, the guy over there or whatever. Instead of what we typically get from classic Hollywood, particularly after the Hays Code is instituted, where all the women are either a wife or a femme fatale.
Yeah.
In this, she's just a person who makes mistakes like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I just felt like that character she just felt genuine, which isn't something that I feel about most characters that I watch in older movies. Everybody kind of just feels like a caricature, and maybe that's because of how pop culture is ingrained classic Hollywood into us, you know, like things from Looney Tunes and all the different, you know, parodies of classic Hollywood we've seen. I never really, not never, but it's hard for me to feel like the characters are characters because I'm so wrapped up in this, or I'm so distracted by this, just like the transatlantic accent that everybody has to have.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, the specific ways of seeing, like when Ted grabs her arm and says, listen, you, like, it's just like, okay, like that's some, but with her character, I did feel like I was watching an actual character.
Yeah. It's very naturalistic. It's we kind of saw it in The Jewel Robbery a little bit with the performance from William Powell. Like it just felt very natural. And Norma Shearer has that same quality in this film that William Powell did in The Jewel Robbery, where it's like, this is just effortless to her, just like it was effortless to William Powell. And like, there are just some people in the industry that get it. And when you have these smaller casts of films and these smaller scope of films, those films really relied on the performances of the actors. And you cast Norma Shearer in this role, and she wasn't even the original one that they wanted for the role. The original actress they wanted was Joan Crawford. And Norma Shearer, Norma Shearer knocks it out of the park. Norma Shearer is great in this film. Yeah, she carries this film.
But this would be a different movie if it was Joan Crawford. Because she's not playing that character like the way Norma Shearer would. She would be I honestly would have really liked to see that. Not that I don't love Norma Shearer in this. I do kind of just want to go to the multiverse where that version exists and see what it's like.
I was very happy to see 2 African Americans in this movie, though they're both in servant roles. But at least there's a couple black faces there. So, yeah.
Unfortunately, they are uncredited.
Yes.
Well,
of course.
yes, and they are also in the servant roles, like you said, Mike, which was obviously very common. At least I will say, and this is not at all giving anybody a pass for any of it. At least they're not. They didn't make them be super stereotypical,
right?
Or caricatures of themselves. They were just, for the most part. I mean, you can see it, and there is the moment where Hank is doing his Italian man impression, which I guess to probably a lot of people that would probably bounce off them pretty easily. But I was watching it and thinking about like it being 1930 and just being like, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I think as of 2021, it's still okay to make fun of Italian people, but come back to me in 2022 and we'll see.
As an Italian person myself, it is okay to make fun of us.
Okay, that's
we have pretty thick. We have pretty thick skin, similar to that of overcooked lasagna. It's true.
I just had like a picture of Chris as Garfield.
But I am the Garfield that you see on Reddit. The Garfield that's like the Cthulhu Garfield.
Oh, nice.
That keeps John alive as like a meat puppet to torture him. Like, I'll torture you for eons, John. Like, that's me as Garfield.
I would read that Garfield comic. I want somebody to actually like expand upon that in a comic series.
It's almost as good as Garfield, where John is it where John doesn't exist, or it's where Garfield doesn't exist?
Garfield doesn't exist.
That's what I thought. Yeah. It's almost as good as that, but this it scratches a body horror itch that the other one doesn't. I think when we've been talking about these pre-code films, I really haven't known what to expect. So this, Mike, again, is very much another kind of face of the shape here. This isn't. This is kind of different than the last two enough. It's more kind of in line with the jewel robbery, but it's kind of interesting to see these different kind of facets of what cinema was like at the time and what people were doing pre-code.
Which is pretty much anything they damn wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean, on camera and off camera.
And then it would all come crashing down.
Well, I mean, they're still doing whatever they want.
As long as your film's not X-rated.
Not owned by the studios.
Right.
As long as your film's not X-rated or NC-17, then no one will ever see it. So.
Right. Yeah. Unless you live in like New York or somewhere and have access to intelligent movie theaters. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect from this either, because like I said at the top, I'm woefully underwatched when it comes to pre-Hays Code era movies. I'm even worse watched when it comes to silent movies. But I do always have fun revisiting this era or visiting this era. One of my favorite movies, which is a few years after this, but It Happened One Night, is one of my absolutely all-time favorite movies. I think it's hilarious. I love the movie. And I got like just a little bit of that vibe in this. Not the slapsticky, but I think kind of maybe just the way, maybe it was just the amount of trains that appeared in this movie.
Anything else you guys want to talk about?
I don't think so.
I just keep seeing that car crash in my head, and it's amazing.
The car crash is pretty great.
I want to know how they did it. I do want to know how they did shit like that back in the day. Like, who drove that car off the side of the thing without any safety gear on? Because that was happening. They were like, well, put a helmet on him. He'll be fine.
Just flip it over. We'll just flip it down the hill.
Oh, they turned over. Yeah.
That the car crash is definitely a tone setter for the rest of the film.
Oh yeah.
I wish the rest of the I wish the rest of the film was as completely over the top as that scene, but we'll have to settle.
Can I say that Paul occasionally throughout this movie looks very much like a vampire because of how much makeup is on him?
Oh, and the fact that he rocks that widow's peak hard.
Yeah.
I had a real pointy nose and everything. I'm like, man, this man might actually be a vampire.
Yeah, he's one of those actors like George Bancroft who has a great profile. Like George Bancroft in Blood Money had like this giant nose, so he had this really cool profile. Conrad Nagel has that like really pronounced profile, and he just looks, he does look like a vampire, but then he's like supposed to be like this doofy idiot. So
he was funny though, like when they're leaving, and he's like, "We'll see all the things. We'll do all the things." I enjoyed his personality in it. Just despite him wanting to leave his wife for Jerry because of an accident he caused. Because let's forget that Paul is the one who crashed this car because he was drunkenly driving because he was pissed off that Jerry didn't want to marry him to begin with. He horribly disfigures his would-be wife, marries her begrudgingly, stays married to her begrudgingly, immediately goes after Jerry, and then like I'm certain that he's still divorcing Dorothy after this movie ends.
Feels like it, yeah.
And if not, she's divorcing him because, again, who would stay with someone that just goes, I don't care about you.
Well, but
don't I deserve to be happy?
A lady who comes to you and says in public, I have no pride.
Right.
Dorothy is a sad, very horribly written female character.
Yeah.
She is there specifically to be a sympathy piece and to be this kind of like guiding light between them, even though she's this totally just destroyed her life because of this man and his decision.
But doesn't he deserve to be happy?
Quite frankly, almost no one in this movie deserves to be happy.
That's what his character says. He's like, don't I deserve to be happy? He's like, no, you don't. You fuck. God. No, you and the rest of them don't deserve to be happy. I just like when Robert Montgomery is talking to Chester Morris, and he's got that big shit-eating grin on his face because he knows he's the one who had sex with Jerry. And he's like, if I ever find the guy who did it, yep, gotta go. Like, yeah.
And then he like does a little sneak back and look. Yes, I like that.
What is he, a fucking Looney Tunes character? Like, all of a sudden you hear in the background, ba-ba-da-ba-ba, he like runs off. Like, it's very close.
But this, I would say that this movie does leave me wanting to watch more pre-Hays Code films, so I'm going to have to check out the last two that you guys watched.
And see, cool. I think that that's the biggest success here, as far as I'm concerned, is like just, like this is something I would watch more of. And it's not because I don't want to watch it. That's not why I haven't seen any of these movies. It's just, there are too many movies.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, we all have our specific little niche of the movie world that we particularly love, though we are all film lovers in a more broad sense, but we all have our niches that we hang on to. And it's just, it's hard to get around to everything. There's millions of movies, and there continue to be, hundreds, thousands of movies made every single year, especially now with how easy it is, equipment-wise, technology-wise, accessibility-wise. But I will say also accessibility-wise, it is unfortunate that a lot of these films from, any time pretty much before the 40s, a lot of them, unless they're big, movies with big names that are these classics, they're not released, or they're harder to find, or they're only released in specific things that are a bit more expensive than maybe the average person would want to spend on like a DVD or something. And they're not usually streaming.
Or you're like the film we talked about for the Patreon episode, and it was just on YouTube, looking like it had been ripped off of TCM in the late 90s.
Right, because unfortunately a lot of that is how you have to watch that, because there isn't a lot of interest, unfortunately, in streaming platforms other than like the niche ones like Criterion that, cater to that, or TCM specific. I think they have their own streaming thing now or whatever. But unless you subscribe to something like that, and if you do subscribe to Criterion or Mubi or whatever, you're a film fan. You're already watching and looking for those movies. If you're some average Joe who has, or some average film watcher who has Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, if those movies aren't on there and they're not popping up in, any kind of recommend, you're not going to see them.
And I wouldn't even know how many of these kinds of movies Netflix or Hulu or HBO even have. Probably one or two between the 5 of them.
It was yesterday was International Women's Day, and so Netflix thought they'd be really smart and just start touting all of these great actresses from years gone by. And it was just like, you're not showing anything with any of these actresses in here. Yeah. That's really nice that you're showing a still from Shanghai Express with Marlena Dietrich, but you're not showing it. Thanks a lot, buddy.
I think because, Netflix has been around for a long time. And I was, an avid DVD getter when it first came out, and I would get like 8 DVDs a month. But I do feel like then, because you could search the catalogs, you could pick all the different categories, and you could just search endlessly, and they had a lot more options. And now with streaming, you have things to search through, but it's not at all easy to look through something like that versus on a screen where you can show 50 titles, or a TV screen where you're showing 6 titles and then scroll over, 6 more titles, scroll over. Mm-hmm. It's very much geared toward watching what the algorithms want you to watch, right? Because they want you to watch the things that pop up first. So those are the things that they're going to promote and do things about. And unfortunately, that means movies like this are going to go really by the wayside. But I do have, because of niche streaming things and all of the different boutique sort of labels, at least there is some sort of release for some of these. But it's also hard to say who has control of what title these days.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't even know who owns this movie. Is it MGM? Warner Brothers?
Don't know, but at least it's a nice restored version that's out there.
Yeah, comparatively to Blood Money, which was awful. And you can't do anything about it. I mean, I am very thankful that the Divorcee looks as good as it does. Because again, it does detract from the quality of the movie, and that's not really the movie's fault. But if we can't watch a film any other way, we have to take that into consideration, and that's why, you hope and you beg in some respects with some films to have these films given a proper release or, to be cleaned up and remastered. Like, there's so many films from this decade, let alone every other decade, that still deserve releases, that still deserve a DVD release, let alone sometimes even a VHS release. Some of these films, some shit never even got VHS released. Like, think about that. If you want to complain about things not being on Blu-ray, good Lord. I remember when you couldn't get Fletch on DVD.
Yeah, when the amount of titles that just kind of like fell into the void between the transfer of VHS to DVD. That just went gone.
Yeah, even if you look at something like Tales from the Crypt, a TV show that aired on HBO, you know that it aired on HBO because it shows up at the beginning of every episode, but HBO has nothing to do with it seemingly anymore. HBO has never re-released it.
Right.
HBO has only ever released it on DVD. They've never done a up-converted version of the show or a remaster or anything.
Is nuts to me.
It's fucking insane.
It's nuts that there's not remastered with like a bunch of just like extra features and shit like that.
But like, again, that's one TV show from the late 80s, early 90s. This is one movie. And like, this is just over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it's unfortunate that it's slow, and then you have it where it's like, oh, it's not even on Blu-ray. It's like, it wasn't even on VHS. It wasn't even on DVD. It's like, Blu-ray is like the least of anyone's problems at this point. Like, I would like to have the ability to just see some of these things to begin with. In a good enough version where it's not ripped off of YouTube. Yeah. Like, The Kill Off last month, I know you weren't on the episode, Jess, but you watched it. That movie looked like hot trash because, again, barely ever even went on to VHS.
It kind of looked like it was like a stage play at some points. Where
that like, was intentional, yeah.
Yeah, where like all the background's like super dark, and it's like, oh, but this looks muddy and crappy because it's ripped from, God knows how old VHS.
Yeah, and just, Mike, you made the joke on the Patreon episode about Martin Scorsese, but like, that's kind of where these things start and stop, really, is like the people who have the time, money, and pull to be like, yeah, I want to sit down and do like a proper remaster, recoloring of Blood Money or The Jewel Robbery. I mean, it really is so kind of bizarre that it really comes down to someone who is just as motivated about one specific thing or one specific director or actor.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, I mean, you have all these companies doing horror movies from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. I don't really know what company does these kinds of movies.
It's like, how many times do I have to buy The Evil Dead on DVD?
Or Halloween,
right?
Or The
Jaws.
Thing, yeah,
or The Fly,
right?
Or
I gave up on that a long time ago, buying the updated. There are few things that I will keep updated on. I did buy the 4K Suspiria because how can I not? I mean, it's gorgeous, but yeah, I mean they're. And I do love, the horror world is where I live. And of course, I love that there are so many different distributors putting these various movies out. But look, I'm not spending $45 on, Driller Killer. Or Blood Drive or any of that. Like, sell me a $20 Blu-ray with some cool shit in it, and I'll be happy. But as far as with genre though, people will still buy those. With this type of film, I think that they just don't find it to be as profitable as putting out like the genre films because they know there's that dedicated fan base. But the fan base for like classic cinema tends to skew older, tends to skew, in a more academic way. And I think that that's just an audience that generally doesn't care as much about buying, the latest release of whatever.
I think it is interesting, though, you bring that up, and that's something we haven't talked about this month, is there, I don't know, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but Jess just mentioned it. Is there this preconceived notion that these films aren't entertaining? That they wouldn't be entertaining to modern day audiences?
Well, I mean, I have a personal rule that I don't watch anything before 1975. And I went back and watched that
before 1990.
I watched that Citizen Kane movie, and boy, was that oversold. Yeah, there is that horrible assumption of some people that they think that these early movies are garbage. Some people can't handle the way, we talked about the mid-Atlantic accent and the snappy dialogue. There's some people that can't handle that. They're just like, they sound funny. They talk funny. And it's like,
why are they talking that way?
Right.
It's like, because it's from a different time period. I don't know what to tell you.
Because they wanted to sound erudite but not British. But so they literally made up an accent to beat the difference.
But you sit there and fucking watch like Lord of the Rings with all made up language and be like, yeah, that's
whoa,
totally
God,
bad about
God,
I'm just
oh my God, Jess,
these same people.
This is hollowed ground here.
The same thing.
Yeah, this is triggered.
I'm triggered. Jess is reading off a script. It's some sort of bullshit. I'm just kidding. I completely agree with you. I mean, that's why I bring that up, because I think similarly, I know you make that joke, Mike, but like there are people that are like that.
Oh, I mean, that's a tweet.
Sure.
That is from like 2 weeks ago from some a-hole, and I'm just like, what are you talking about? What is your problem?
And I mean,
well, they don't even know the answer, so
like for younger audiences too. Like I really can't understand it for people who are in their 30s, 40s and are supposed film critics and refuse to watch things. I'm like, I'm not trying to be a gatekeeper when it comes to you have to see this movie to be a film fan. I'm not. But if you want to be a film writer and write film criticism, it's like with anything, you need to know the foundation upon which your writing is built on.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't watch those movies, and honestly, you have to watch every single one. I have plenty of cinema blind spots in classic cinema that I've never seen.
We all do.
I've seen enough. I've read enough. I've listened to enough podcasts that, like when I watch certain movies, I can disassociate myself from the modern time to be like, okay, this is why they're talking like this. This is the circumstances in history that's happening right now. Think about that. Pre-Hays Code era, we're all like early World War, happening right before World War II really started to go off. And so, I mean, like, people who don't want to even entertain consuming any of that and then want to spout off about, why this movie is so brilliant because nothing like it has ever been done. And it's like, well, has it? Or have you just never seen the movies that it's inspired by?
Right. Yeah. That movie,
and then
that was very original.
Yeah.
So
original. That film Reservoir Dogs was mad original. So it would have been nice. It would have been nice if there was a film that existed within a decade before that one.
Right. But
that did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you said, Jess, like part of it is it's hard to form an opinion if you don't have a
foundational
knowledge of the background. Yeah. And secondly, it's also hard to form an opinion if you don't know that things are so inspired by something else that it is plagiarism. If you tell me how original something is and I go, okay, sure. But if you're telling me it's like a Tarantino film that's original or a lot of other films like Joker, it's like, no, like this is so heavily inspired by something else. It's practically copying.
Well, and when
it goes past homage into a very dicey territory.
Well, and when people are saying, oh, that's an original idea, they really are meaning like, and I'm not saying everybody, I'm not speaking for everybody who says this, but I think in the general way of thinking when people say, oh, that's an original idea, what they really mean is this movie plays out in a way or looks a different way than most movies I'm used to seeing.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tarantino does all these flashy references and, tells his stories and nonlinear, blah, blah, blah. I only, I haven't seen that many movies like that. So it's super original.
Right.
But that's because you haven't gone back to do any of the research. And I'm not saying if you just want to watch a movie and you like a movie. I don't care. But if you want to, we're talking about people who, I think that the tweet that you were talking about, Mike, is from somebody who is a film writer. Or at least there was a comment like that from somebody a while ago. But, if you're going to be somebody who gets paid in a way to do film criticism, then you need to do your homework.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was Rick Rojas, from the New York Times.
Right. There you go.
The film writer for the New York Times?
I'm not sure what he generally writes about.
Oh my God.
But he's a writer at the New York Times, which means he's supposedly an intelligent person.
Yeah.
He also has a blue check mark next to his Twitter, which is something that, like to point out, 3 of us don't have.
Nope.
And I would never tweet something like that because something like that, it's just like, again, this is something that I think, and again, I'm applying this to this industry and not the industry that I think it matters, which is politics. I think even if that's something you truly believe, what in God's name would motivate you to tweet that? The optics of that are fucking insane. You sound like an idiot. Even if you're not stupid, like I'm not going to make a generalization about him at all. I don't know him. I will probably never meet him, but that tweet seems insanely ignorant to me.
Yeah. It seems purposefully ignorant. And it kind of seems like a boasting of ignorance, too. Where it's like, I don't watch that. That's dumb. We might be getting tied up with this more than normal, but like, I think this kind of mentality is dangerous. Well, this kind of mentality is why these kind of movies like The Divorcee are not streaming on Netflix and the Amazon. Because these movies, I'm sure, are dirt fucking cheap to license.
Yeah.
If not public domain.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? And I'm surprised that there's never been a term for this, but there should be. The people who say stuff like that are the film equivalent of picky eaters. You are just setting back. No, it's not. Well, I mean, that's kind of that's the criticism version of it. But I was saying more like you have set boundaries on yourself for seemingly no realistic reason other than just because. Well, and you're looking at it in such a narrow-minded way that you may not ever get to see stuff that is so exciting and interesting. Right. It opens up other doors to you.
It's like, why box yourself off intentionally? Like, why say I'm not going to do this? I mean, hey, maybe it's a result of, and I did not know that this was a thing, nor did I know that it was associated with my maiden name. But there's a thing called Hick's Law, where it's the idea of too many choices and you just shut down and freeze. And it's often applied to things like menus. When you have like a restaurant menu, if you have too many pages, people are just, it's too much. We obviously have this issue big time now because we have access to 8,000 streaming services that offer 8,000 different original content, plus putting out content that's already out there. So maybe it's just their safe blanket of like, I can't, it's too much. I can't go back. I have to limit myself or I become overwhelmed. But also to me, Mike, like you said, there are some people that just, they for some reason can't handle it. But to me, that's not an excuse. And it just kind of makes me, I don't know. I'm just like, really? You can't handle somebody talking in a weird way?
Right.
Do you also not read subtitles?
The answer is probably yes. Yeah. Yeah, look, it is unfortunate. I do think that there is a place in the world for a streaming service or a platform that introduces newer audiences to this kind of stuff. The main
places where you can see movies like this, I don't know if this movie specifically, but it would, obviously Criterion. And then Mubi, I guess, MUBI. I haven't really looked much into it, but from what I understand, they do a lot of like independent movies, but also older, kind of just like obscure things that you don't really know too much about. But other than that, I don't really know. I mean, horror is kind of the same way. We have one streaming network for horror. I mean, science fiction has nothing.
Well, they've got Sci-Fi TV channel, which,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. Is that good? Do they still have original programming on that channel?
I remember when the Sci-Fi channel was good, and it was when it was spelled a different way. So
I remember when Sci-Fi channel had sightings on it.
I was watching a lot of BBC America yesterday to see Star Trek and CSI, two very American shows on BBC America. It was perfect.
Yeah.
There's Star Trek is always on BBC America.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but it used to be on Sci-Fi all the time, and it's not anymore.
I mean, maybe you could show some British shows on the BBC channel, please.
I mean, the Sci-Fi channel is where I first started watching Twilight Zone and stuff like that, and I loved it. But unfortunately, you're not seeing that anymore unless it's New Year's Eve.
Right.
Yeah, I remember Sci-Fi. Yeah, the Sci-Fi genre doesn't have its own thing, but neither does this. It's strange. It's unfortunate. Again, it's a symptom of this is a massive industry that, like you said, Jess, they make tons of movies every year. There's tons of movies that have been made since, and every countries have been making movies for a very long time. America's not the only one. If you think it's hard to find movies in this country that are older, I can't even imagine what it's like in other countries.
I can't. I'm trying to find
Russia or Brazil.
Not the movie.
Some of the things we talked about last year, Mike, some of those things, I genuinely don't know what fucking rusted tin can they found those movies in, but I'm glad they found them because they're great movies, but they were on a rusted tin can somewhere on some shelf just sitting there. That's how I assume so much of this is, because again, if it's bad here, it's got to be worse where places didn't have their act together when people were making those movies.
Well,
not like this industry.
Where places had more restrictions too.
Yeah, I don't know.
On content.
I wouldn't be so quick to write off other countries with stuff. I mean, I am no expert when it comes to how they do film preservation in Poland or Czechoslovakia or Japan or any place else. So I'm not sure. I mean, Japan's got its own thing because of the war and everything, and I think a lot of stuff was destroyed. But, I'm sure there is good film preservation. I would hope in some place like France, who held and still holds film as an art. So I don't know how we're looking at other countries, but there were hundreds, if not thousands, of films being produced in Argentina and Brazil. So, and the ones that we watched last year, I mean, especially Macunima, that just looked gorgeous.
Yeah, it did. I mean, and that's the thing. I fully believe that if you make a film, it should be seen in the best version possible, because I think every film, even if it's not something I like, someone spent time and effort on it. And it's a shame if your film isn't able to be seen by people. It's not available to be seen by people.
Yep.
Like, there's one thing for just not watching something. I get it. But like not being able to find it at all, like lost media. I know that that's like a really big hot button issue right now, is like lost media is the thing that a bunch of TikTokers found out is a thing. Lost media, like fuck you guys. What if you guys haven't looked for Bud Dwyer's suicide video on the internet before? Come on, guys. Like, what the fuck is this? You just found lost media. Come on.
Well, they didn't
fuck
have
guys.
Rotten.com.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Steak and Cheese or any of those horrible shock websites.
Like that.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's just, I do think about that. But yeah, like I was saying, like there's one thing if you can't watch your movie because you can't find it, but there's another thing just not watching it because you don't want to. And that is a shame. Yeah. So Mike, what would you give the Divorcee out of 5?
I'd probably give it, I'd say like 3.5 out of 5. I did enjoy it. It's just, this isn't one I'd necessarily go back to the well for too quickly. I will definitely seek out more films that some of the folks that were in this were in. I think I would like to check out more Norma Shearer stuff. So yeah, I'd say 3.5. We're good.
What about you, Jess?
I'd say the same. Yeah, I think that I think this is it was a good movie. It was an entertaining movie. Is it something that I would go back to a bunch? No, I don't think so. But I enjoyed watching it, and I do want to watch more movies like it. So
yeah, and I'm going to give it a 3.5 as well. And I echo what both of y'all said. I think I think looking at it in comparison to the last two films, it's probably third right now. I think Jewel Robbery is still my favorite thing we watched this month, with Blood Money and this one. I would say they're pretty close. I think this may edge Blood Money out just a little bit because, again, I can see what's going on and it doesn't sound like hot, garbled trash. But again, that's no fault of the people who made the movie. That's just situational.
What we just spent the last 20 minutes talking
about. Exactly. So let's take a break and we'll play a preview for the next Kulturecast.
Detective giving us a once-over.
You look, babe. I haven't got my glasses. Now, what do you want?
Just a smile. Come on, let's have it. Atta baby.
Scamp. Better sit over here, Bert. You're blocking traffic.
He's dynamite. Everybody in this joint owes him money from those crooked dice of his.
Well, he can't do me any harm. I haven't any money, and I don't shoot craps.
Oh, yeah? Well, maybe you have something else he can use.
I want you, that's all. Anne, let's get married.
That's sweet of you, Bert. I wish you'd told me that long ago.
Why?
It's too late now, Bert.
These look mighty nice on you. You know, they just match your teeth. Gee, you look swell.
Hey, cut that out!
Whoa! Now look what you did. Those are expensive. Oh!
That's right. On the next Kulturecast, we're going to be talking about 1931's Blonde Crazy. And we're going to be joined by two dudes who always show up for these podcasts together. The one and only Richard Haddam, Big Rich from the West Coast, and Pulp Serenade's Cullen Gallagher. And Mike will be there too, because of course it's Mike White March. It wouldn't be Mike White March without Mike White. So there you go. Until then, where people literally will be able to find you on the next episode, Mike, but if they can't find you, where can they find you when you're not here for Mike White March?
You can find me over on Tubi, where I'll be hanging out with all the older movies. And you can find me over at the Projection Booth, which is available at projectionboothpodcast.com.
We should do a podcast about all the weird fucking streaming platforms that exist that, like, I have never heard of, but you can find their apps by accident. It's like that one, and then there's like 3 or 4.
$99 a month.
Yeah, there's like a couple other ones, because you mentioned Mubi,
and UBI. Yes.
And Tubi is another one.
Tubi is another one that's weird shit.
I watch Tubi all the fucking time because they've got this game show on there that I actually like a lot. So it's like, fire up the Tubi and let's watch this thing.
Does it have ads?
Yes, it does. It's one of those. It's very Crackle-esque as far as like ads coming up. 1 of 5. So, but it moves.
It's time to go get something from the kitchen.
Exactly.
So, and that's my point. Like Crackle, Tubi, Mubi. Like I have never used any of them. And isn't there another one that's like for all like the MTV shows? What's that?
I feel like every network has their own. Now,
no, but it's not like an MTV. It's not like an MTV specific. It's like its own thing. I don't know. There's so many streaming platforms. It just further goes to our point. There's like a streaming platform for fucking everything, and then some. I'm waiting for a streaming platform only for game show episodes because I would watch that shit in a heartbeat. Like old episodes of Jeopardy.
I mean, I used to watch the Game Show Network.
Fuck yeah.
Game Show Network's awesome.
Yeah. And now there's like a competitor for Game Show Network, or they might be owned by the same company. But yeah, I will still go back and watch a lot of Match Game that way.
What's the show? What's the show that Trebek hosted before Jeopardy?
It wasn't Password. It was the one where you put the words together.
Yeah.
What was that called?
It's the one with the clues, right?
Yeah.
Was it?
Was it?
I'm trying to remember. My wife and I watched a lot of it because it's on Amazon Prime. God, what is the name of that show? Is it Double Dare? That's what it is.
Double Dare. Okay,
that's the one that's the one that I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Yeah. Not the Mark Summers Double Dare, right?
That's the Double Dare I'm familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking Classic Concentration, and he was on The Wizard of Oz, High Rollers, Double Dare, The $128,000 Question, Pitfall, Battlestars, Starcade, Jeopardy, of course, and then a bunch of unsold pilots. Interesting. He was trying back in the early 80s, right around the time he was on Jeopardy. He was in 1, 2, 3 other pilots, plus he was still hosting Classic Concentration from 87 to 91. So our boy was pretty busy.
I don't know if anyone knows this, but Mike is a huge fan of Jeopardy. Sometimes, very infrequently, but it does happen when we have to pause for Mike to show up. It's normally me. Mike has to finish his episode of Jeopardy. And it's like, it always cracks me up because like, if Mike is late, I know why. And it's always a very good reason. Cause Jeopardy's amazing. Like, losing Alex Trebek last year sucked big time. Cause like that show has been on with him as the host since I've been alive.
Yeah.
So, but anywho.
The Divorcee.
Yeah, the Divorcee. Where can people find you, Jess?
You can find me on Twitter at writer Jess Byard. Pretty much everything that I do there, or I do, goes there. If you want to hear Chris and I together at the top of the show, we mentioned we have another podcast where we talk about spooky things, true crime, scary stories we tell. You can find us both over there, and you can find us both on our other show, the One Season Show, which is about television that lasted only one season.
And as for me, you can find me on Twitter at Christmas Claus. Kulturecast.com is where you can find all of the podcasts. Patreon.com. That's where you can go kick a couple dollars our way, get access to some bonus episodes that you can't listen to without a $1 Patreon. That's a thing. If you got $1, great. If not, hey, you know what? Times are hard, I've heard. maybe some other people should listen, but I'm listening, so there you go. As for the two folks here, thank you guys so much for joining me. As always, Mike, another great pick. Not depressing like last year, which is also nice. But like I said, this month has been getting better. Like even the Divorcee, as much as I wasn't as big a fan, like it's still keeping with good quality. So I'm very much looking forward to the next episode, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Dev Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production Podcast Network. We hope to see you online.